Hi, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and this is Chasing Legends. Welcome back to Chasing Legends. I'm Wayne Tuttle, your host once again. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notification bell. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Hit the like finger, little thumbs up. Go to our website, www.legend of the Superstition Mountains. Check us out on lives, same channel, on Fridays. And we should be pretty much every Friday that we possibly can. Dawn's Discovery Camp's running through into February, so on the Fridays, so we'll be kind of working with that. All kinds of other things stuff coming up. March 15th, Ides of March, the Treasure Hunter of the Year Awards at Goldfield Ghost Town. But we'll get on to today's story. Now, today's story was one of those odd things that I'm sitting there and I'm going through different stories, and like I said, I'll put 4 or 5 aside. And this one, I was kind of like, this is kind of a cool story. This is neat. But then I tried to check the background and names, and I found out there was a lack of names and a lack of anything I could find. And I could find nothing, even not much on the author of the article itself, the original articles. But the story's too good, and I think you'll agree with me. This goes back into the 1880s. We're in Wyandotte County in Kansas. I don't think we've done one from Kansas before. And the gentleman's name here is Robert C. Cory. He was a preacher. He also did taxidermy. So he was the local preacher in the rural community there, and he would do taxidermy on birds. He became quite renowned, quite well known for his work. And Ames College and a number of other places, universities, museums, would contact him for various birds, stuffed birds. So he did a pretty good job at that on the side of being a preacher. The other thing to note is he was basically legally blind. But he did quite well, but he became kind of like not sure what to do with himself. So he decided to start rustling cattle, of all things. So he figured nobody would suspect him. He's the preacher. He's basically blind, so he probably could get away with it. So what he would do is he would go out and steal a cow, and then he would go sell it someplace to someone that would purchase rustled cattle, or someone some distance away. Seems like a really difficult thing to pull off by yourself, but somehow he did it, one cow at a time here and there, and became quite successful enough that all the farmers and the ranchers in the area became very aggravated by these cows. They were missing at times and so forth. So they contact the sheriff and said, "Sheriff, you got to do something. It's every week there's a cow somewhere disappearing. We can't figure out who's doing it." So the sheriff goes out, starts canvassing all the area, can't come up with anything. And then he starts talking to the people that were known to rustle, or people who had some criminal histories, and talked to them. And they all had alibis. And all of them basically said, "It's not me. I have no clue who's doing this." Well, why would someone just steal one cow at a time? It's almost like the perfect crime. And then a rumor came in. Someone said, the gossip was that Robert Cory had been stealing the cattle, which the sheriff laughed, said, "It's an elderly preacher who's blind. Why would you even point a finger at him?" And he let it go, and the rumors kept coming in. Finally, he goes down and he talks to one guy, and the guy says, "No, I saw him. He walked across the field, walked over, took the cow, just walked straight out, walked down the road with it." And the sheriff's, "Well, I have to talk to Robert then." He says, "This seems absolutely bizarre, ridiculous, but I'll have to talk to him." So he goes over to Robert Cory's place, knocks on the door. Cory tells him, "Come on in." He comes in. There must be 150 stuffed birds in this place. He said it was literally lined. Everything was just covered in dead birds that he'd stuffed and all. And he was just amazed at the amount and number. They chit-chat for a minute. He asks Cory, says, I need to talk to you for a minute. And Cory says, well, let me finish up on this bird that I'm working and stitching and all, and I'll get with you. And they make small talk. Cory just does small talk like it's nothing. Has no idea why the sheriff's there. He sews this bird up, sets it over on the bench, and turns and says, Sheriff, what can I do for you? And the sheriff says, I'm here to arrest you for cattle rustling. And Cory immediately stands up and says, let me get my hat and my coat, and I'll come with you. And the sheriff is absolutely just puzzled, like, okay. So Cory gets his hat, his shirt, his hat, his coat, and he gets his cane, walking cane, because he needs a cane. And they walk back into town with Cory tapping all the way, getting into town. They have a court trial. He does not deny it in the least. He was rustling cattle, and everyone is just like this nice old man who's the preacher, who's blind. How could he pull this off? Cory doesn't really say anything other than just, yeah, okay, you got me. But they were saying it was supplementing his income somehow. He must have been making quite the pull off of it. So he's sentenced to 3 years in Lansing prison in Kansas. Well, once he's shipped off and he goes through the system and he's going to Lansing prison, the letters from his house are being forwarded over to the sheriff's office because he won't be there for 3 years. And the sheriff starts going through them and finds all these letters from museums, colleges, various different institutions. As he's going through them, he's finding their purchase orders and orders that had already been done and everything. And he's like, oh my God, in this place there's 8 birds going here and 5 birds there. And he's like, what am I going to do with all that stuff sitting in there? And so the farmers and ranchers say, well, whatever we can find in his house, we'll sell the birds to and ship those and take the money. And that'll be part of our reimbursement for the stolen cattle. Sheriff thinks, well, that's pretty good idea. He's a pretty good guy about it. So he goes to the house. They go through the whole house. They inventory everything, the birds and stuff. They do not find a penny, a dollar, a dime, a nickel anywhere in the house. He's like, I don't know what he did with the money, but we'll ship these birds and I'll make sure you guys get your compensation. So he starts boxing them up and sending the birds off to the various places. And once he's done, there's still like 100 of these stuffed birds around. So then he has like a sale, sells off what he can, which poor community, how many people want to buy taxidermied birds. So he does that, and then he just puts out advertisements of that. Basically, if you want one, we'll ship you one. So people start coming, and other people send letters, and he starts shipping them all off. So he gets them, and they're just scattered going everywhere. So as this occurs, after the number of months, he basically sends a letter to Robert Cory and says, look, I helped settle your debts in this place. You still have your home. But I settled your debts with the universities and the museums and so forth. And then the other birds and stuff, I found places for them. So everything should be square and good when you get out of prison. Cory gets out of prison, comes home, finds out all his birds are gone, which he's been told. And he gets a friend and says, we need to go to Ames College first. We need to go up there and look at their collection. And the friend's, why? And he says, just take me up there. Well, the problem is Cory's so blind at this point, he can't really see. So he's having to ask his friend, what is this? What's the description? What does it look like? How is it mounted? He's going through all these details. But he can't make heads or tails, because you might have figured it out at this point. What Robert Cory had been doing is he rustled the cattle, took the cash, and he was putting it in the birds that he was not going to sell. And the sheriff had scattered them in so many different ways that Cory had no idea, not being able to visually see them. He didn't know which bird was which anymore and didn't know where they'd all went. And there was no inventory of who they'd went to, so he lost all the cash that he thought he had built up. In fact, it wasn't just that cash, but all the other cash he had saved. That was his storage area. So the story was told as the story of the lost treasure birds. I find it enticing. It sounds pretty damn good. The problem is I can't find any Robert C. Cory. I can't find a Robert Cory in Wyandotte County, Kansas. They never give us the sheriff's name. I looked for any treasure legend, anything remotely related, cattle rustling, whatnot, in Wyandotte County, even Lansing, Kansas, and the prison records. I can find nothing on any of this. So unfortunately, as good as the story is, I have a tendency in one of those rare occasions to say, I don't think this story is probably true. I think Ben Townsend, who was the author of it, and he wrote a number of different treasure stories for magazines and articles and so forth, I get a bad feeling that he probably just made it up. Because I would think a prominent clergyman who was sentenced to prison for cattle rustling, and in some way something would have picked up. I tried variations of the name, I tried everything, and I came up empty. So I hope you enjoyed the story, because it is a great story. I mean, that's the story of stories there, you know. Taxidermied birds. Who knows, people maybe now all through the Midwest are ripping apart their 100-year-old taxidermied birds in hopes to find the cash. And who knows how much cash it was. They don't give us very few names other than Robert C. Cory, and they give us almost nothing else in the amount of money or anything he made. So possibly this story gets one of those question marks on it, which means I could not find relevant information to support anything in the story, even the people. That being said, it's still a great story. Pick up a copy of Sunsets. Up on Amazon Prime. You can stream it, you can download it, you can purchase it. Maybe if you catch us out and about, you can get yourself a physical copy for $10 still. Okay, cheap as it could come. Not a cheap film, excellent quality film. We could have sold this for 20, 30 bucks. We go for 10. We'll sell it to you for 7 if you ask us to autograph it, because it's basically losing its value once I write on it. But we'll work out something and eventually be able to ship some of these out and kind of work something. I got some ideas in my head to try to make it easy for people, because I know people like physical copies of things. I'm one of those guys. It's great to have the download and stuff, but if I really like it, it's nice to own the physical copy and feel like you have a little piece of it or ownership of it, or put it on your bookshelf. So there you go. There's this week's story. Hope you join us for live on Friday if I make it back from the Superstitions in the same account of that day. We have other things progressing we'll talk about in the next few weeks as filming and progress goes on those. But we got some kind of cool stuff sitting there warming up and getting ready to prepare to kind of release out to the masses. So I hope everybody's enjoying the cool weather for the winter in Arizona. I hope everybody else is staying warm everywhere else. We're looking like we might get some rain. Next update, we'll let you know if we even got a drop, but we haven't had rain for about 150 days or so. So it's been a bit of a dry winter. No snowfall up since probably early November or so up in the Flagstaff area. So it's been a very dry winter for us. Enough for the small talk. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting the channel and everything everyone's done. And always remember, the most important thing outside of buying Sunsets on Amazon Prime, download, or, you know, however you want to do it, stream it. You can stream it if you have Amazon on television too. You can just stream it there, purchase it there, go watch it. Glenn Lewis Evans. The Roswell Delirium is his film too. Glenn was our director of photography, so if you want to check ours out, then check his fictional film, Roswell Delirium. That's another good one. Glenn's a great guy, good family man. All that said and done, you know what's even more important than all that? I'm Wayne Tuttle. You're not. And this was Chasing Legends.